Hi and welcome back to Lavender Cocoa Kitchen. Well, I've decided to make caramel cupcakes because I have seen a lot of Cadbury caramel chocolate in the shops lately, and it seems to be appearing in all kinds of forms and products. Well, obviously it's not vegan and it is really high in sugar. So I've decided to recreate these flavors in a cupcake form using more natural and more nutritious forms of sugar like coconut sugar and maple syrup, which not only are they better for you than refined white sugar, they're also a lot more full of flavor, and they have their own natural caramel flavors, which really adds a real nice depth to these cakes. Oats, of course, are very good for you, very nutritious, very heart healthy, and they'll keep you satisfied for a long time. Just put that in. And next I'll use a cup of wholemeal spelt flour, which is a bit more like regular flour and is a bit lower in GI value. Okay, now we come to our lovely ground roast cashews. So you just get 1.5 cups of cashews. Just mix it with 3/4 of a teaspoon of olive oil, 1.5 teaspoons of maple syrup, 3/4 of a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1.5 teaspoons of maca powder. And then you just roast them in the oven at 180 degrees for about 8 to 10 minutes. And once they've cooled down, just put them in the blender and just blend them until they become like a fine flour. We'll just put 1/2 cup of those in to enhance the flavor. And these are actually really nice just to eat as they are. You can just roast some and eat them as a snack. So put that in. We want our maca powder. So 2 teaspoons of that. And to help the cakes to rise a bit, we're going to use 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And just a pinch of salt. Of course, will go well with the caramel and just bring out the flavour a little bit. You don't really need much, just a little pinch. Now for our sugar. 1/3 cup of coconut sugar. Right, now just mix them together. So that's the dry ingredients. Now I'm going to put in the wet ingredients. So I'm going to use some maple syrup, another 1/3 cup. 1/3 cup of melted coconut oil. 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And make sure it's extract and not essence. 1/2 cup of coconut cream. 1/2 cup of almond milk. Just have to mix it. And if you don't have an electric mixer, you can do it by hand, it's fine. And now you have a nice mixture. And that actually tastes really good as it is. Have to just put it into our cupcake papers. You can use any size. It'll probably make about 12 of this medium size, but you can use bigger ones, which will give you less, or smaller ones, which will give you more. And if you use an ice cream scoop, it actually makes it easier. It is actually worth having an ice cream scoop if you make a lot of these, because it just makes it a lot easier to fill them, and it's less messy as well. I just got this fairly recently and I found it's very good. They go in the oven at 180 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the size. So just keep an eye on them. And they're done when you can poke a knife or a toothpick in and it comes out clean. Alright, so now I'm going to make the caramel frosting, and this has that nice chocolatey caramel flavour, and so I'm using cacao butter to get that chocolate element. It's just the fat of the cacao bean. So I'm going to use a 1/4 cup and then just melt that at a very low heat. You can just leave that to melt. As long as the heat is very low, it'll be okay. Our lovely ground cashews. So we need about 1 cup of those. So I'm going to use a 1/4 cup of coconut sugar. If you want a finer texture for this frosting, you can use powdered coconut sugar, which you just take the regular coconut sugar and blend it until it becomes a fine powder. So I'll use a 1/4 cup. So as you can see, it's become very fine when it's been blended. A teaspoon of the maca powder. That's 1/2 teaspoon, so I'll put 2 of those in. Teaspoon of vanilla extract. So I put some maple syrup in, about 1/2 to 1 tablespoon, depending on how sweet you want. This is actually quite sweet, and it really does mimic that caramel taste. A bit more sweet than I would normally make a frosting, but I want to get that flavour. And actually you don't need to use a frosting on the cakes because the cakes by themselves are really delicious. But if you're using this for a party or special occasion or a special treat, then it is really worth making the frosting because it really has that delicious flavour. And obviously, as I said, the sugars I've used are more nutritious forms of sugar, and when it comes down to it, you're not going to be eating as much sugar as if you ate a bar of caramel chocolate, and you're going to get a much nicer flavour too. 1/3 cup of coconut cream. Cacao butter has melted, so we're just going to add that in there. Blend it till it's smooth. So there we have the caramel frosting. So now you just got to put that in the fridge until it cools down, and it will thicken a bit more as it cools. Well, those are cooked after 20 minutes, and you see the knife comes out clean. And you don't really have to worry if they're cracked. Obviously, if you're going to ice them, it's not going to show anyway. So just put them on a rack to cool. So the cakes are cool and the frosting is also cool. As you can see, it's quite a lot thicker now. To pipe, obviously that uses more frosting, so you may want to make an extra quantity. So, and this can be made the day before and just kept in the fridge, and then just leave it out for a while until it softens a bit, and then just give it a bit of a beat before you use it. You can just spread the frosting on if you want to, or if you like, you can pipe the icing on, which gives a nice finish if you're using it for a special occasion. So if you like, just garnish it with a bit of vegan white chocolate and any of your leftover ground cashews. So you can do the same if you have just spread the icing on. It looks nice. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you.